Actually, Heart of God Church is not just a church that thinks about generations. Heart of God Church is a home where generations can be raised. It's totally different. After 2019, I've been coming, so many times that sometimes I feel like Singaporean. From that moment on, our hearts were connected. We're like-minded, like-hearted. But then, okay, I got this experience here. And then now I had to decide, is this just an Asian thing? Is this just in Singapore? Or can this be exported throughout the world? And what I had to find out is actually generations is not Asian, Brazilian, American, European. Generations is a kingdom mindset. So when we think generations can go throughout the nations. So I had to go back to Brazil. Okay, now let's go to the day-to-day work. Let's try to get what I've learned here in GPC, the Pastors Conference in Singapore, and now let's take it back home. I have to tell you, leaders and pastors that are hearing me, it's a process. It's not from the night to the day. I got back home and I made a meeting with all my leaders and pastors. So I told the leaders, you know what? Actually, you have lack of servants, but we have 300 youth in our church willing to work. Why don't we just walk the extra mile and start training them and start empowering them, start telling them that they are able to do it? Initially, the leaders were like, maybe our pastor is firing us. Maybe we're out of a job now. Maybe we have to move churches. No, they had to learn what I learned here in Singapore at Heart of God Church, that generations, they are not replacements. Generations, they are reinforcements. So instead of just being replaced, what I gave them, it was a way to start teaching. So what I told them, and that's what I've seen and learned here, I believe in 3 seasons that we go in our lives. Sometimes we're just learning, we're learners. Sometimes we're doing, we're doers. But sometimes we're teaching, we are like teachers. So there is a place for everybody in the house of God. So I told my leaders, why don't you start teaching a new generation? So from a long process now I can see my local church in Brazil, those 3 layers. I will have people teaching, I'll have the ones doing it, and I'll have the ones learning it. There's a real famous picture that I saw in Heart of God Church. The guy was in a kind of light sound table, like technical table, and there were 3 guys, one teaching, one doing, and one learning. So this picture brought me inside to go back home and start teaching my congregation that it's possible. And from that moment on, I can see a real shift. A real shift in the atmosphere, a real shift in the effort and the manpower at church. Now I have, I can say I have 3 generations serving together in my regular services back home. And not only this, young people started serving. 10-year-old, 11-year-old, 12-year-old, they started serving, and now they ignited their parents. Sometimes in my main service on Sundays, I may have a 12-year-old serving together with his dad, 30-something-year-old at the same service. Now I can see that generations, it's not only a movement for one generation alone or for 10 or 2 decades. Generations, it's about the continuity of Christianity in the world, and I feel privileged just to be a part of it.